Hey guys, I'm preparing a fun little video about the metaverse, but I'm running a bit behind. I'm not going to be done before the trivia. However, I wanted to give you guys something before we do the trivia, so I'm making this little draft video and we're going to release it unlisted, just give you guys a link on Twitter in case you want to watch, study up a little bit before the trivia. And then later on, I'll post the actual finished product video. So this one is in rough draft form. I'm not going to add any of the images or, make it look that good, sound that good, but it'll have some information for you about the trivia. Let's start with what is Metaverse. So for this, I'm taking the Wikipedia definition, very official, I know. And the word metaverse is made up of the prefix meta in the stem verse. The term is typically used to describe the concept of a future iteration of the internet, made up of persistent, shared 3D virtual spaces linked into a perceived virtual universe. The metaverse, in a broader sense, may not only refer to virtual worlds, but internet as a whole, including the entire spectrum of augmented reality. So as for my own definition, I think it's basically a word attempting to describe the situation we find ourselves moving toward, where online worlds and identities become increasingly immersive and ever more connected with the real world that we live in. Then we're going to look at examples of the metaverse in pop culture and in real life. So in pop culture, the dominant examples are movies like Ready Player One and Free Guy, which are centered around an immersive VR video game where people interact via avatars. Out of these two, Ready Player One is more focused on the metaverse concept, as it presents a much bigger VR world where players spend a significant portion of their real life and it kind of becomes a major part of their real life, almost like which one is which. However, we don't actually need pop culture references to think about metaverse because we already have things that are on the spectrum of metaverse. If you take the definition at face value, any kind of video game is already metaverse, as they do create a perceived virtual universe. But it's more like a spectrum. So there's not, oh, this is not metaverse and this is metaverse. It's more like, how metaverse is it? Right now, games like Fortnite are at the forefront because it's a lot about hanging out with your friends, and there's sort of a bigger world and more things to do than just one game. It's a very open world. So essentially, games where you can play with your friends online are already a step into the metaverse. But additional functions like the large open world, ability to participate in multiple kinds of events, the avatars being highly customizable, looks like you, or not like you, but how you want your avatar to look, and some sort of economy and collectible assets. These are all things that bring the game further into the metaverse, further along in the metaverse spectrum. All right, so now let's move on to examples already in the blockchain. So some of the good examples of prominent metaverse type games in the crypto space are Decentraland and Sandbox 3D. So Decentraland provides a virtual world where many players can gather. There's plots of virtual land that you can buy and customize, and a place to incorporate different kinds of NFTs. So for example, many Decentraland players use their virtual property to create studios in which they display NFT artwork. And Sandbox 3D uses a more Minecraft-like style to create an arguably more immersive world with a straightforward and stylistic creation interface that it still allows for high levels of customization. And currently, NFT usage in the Sandbox game is sort of limited to Sandbox exclusive NFTs, but this game is still in its early stages and we don't know what they're going to do in the future. Now let's look at the blockchain differences when it comes to metaverse. So games that are associated with the blockchain instead of just a standalone game that's also on the metaverse spectrum. Much like chips and dips, metaverse concepts and blockchains do exist separately, but they're naturally compatible. So to this day, people still sell their RuneScape items for fiat money, but that doesn't flow quite as naturally as selling an Axie for the same currency that you use to do everything in-game, and also being able to use that currency on other platforms and sell that currency even more easily at a price that you already know because it's already on some markets. While the current status of tokens like Sand and SLP, Smooth Love Potion, Sand is the token in Sandbox 3D, by the way. So with their current status, their main function is contained within their respective games, but already these kinds of tokens can also be used for DeFi staking and lending, as well as, like I said, they're easy to sell into other cryptos or fiat. And this status could be easily brought further in the future and even further blend the difference between what's real money and what's in-game money. And then, of course, NFTs bring even more to the picture. So they're not only providing even more secure ownership of the valuable in-game items, but because of the fact that they're on-chain, this means that in-game items can theoretically be used in between platforms or in between different games. So we haven't seen much of this happen yet, but if two games are on the same blockchain, which many of them are, then there's nothing stopping one game from deciding to give special permissions or maybe a duplicate NFT to holders of a valuable NFT from another game. This might be done as sort of a marketing ploy or a way to attract some already established gamers on another game to the new game. There's another out of the box concept that you might have heard of already called loot for adventurers. So for those of you who don't know, loot is an NFT collection which is just text listing items that sound like they would be in a fantasy game, but they're actually not associated with any game yet. They're not in anything. It's literally just the text. But the idea here is that they're actually just starting with the list of the items that you could have. And then since it has so much exposures, then this is attractive for developers to go ahead and incorporate these loot NFTs into their games. So they can actually make all of these items from these NFTs, then the holders of them can go play the game, and then they automatically have those items. So this takes the idea of NFTs to an interesting place. We already know that they can be used for digital art and in-game assets, but since they're already on large-scale existing blockchains, they don't have to be tied to any one use. It seems likely that some game developers will take advantage of the automatic publicity offered by incorporating loot into their game, but who's to say that only one game will do so? Anybody could incorporate these loot NFTs if they want to. So not only could multiple games decide to incorporate loot NFTs as in-game items, but it could go even further. Artists could decide to gain exposure by creating some artistic renditions of the loot described in the game and then airdropping them to the loot holders. Social media platforms could decide to incorporate the items into the unique social profiles. And these text lists, they could even manifest in the real world. Maybe some loot holder will commission people to make real world versions of the items listed on their loot list, and then they could sell them along with the loot NFT to gain more attraction and offer something higher value. Finally, one more use of NFTs in a metaverse scenario that you might not have heard of is using non-transferable NFTs. So I got this idea from Yield Guild Games, YGG, and they implemented this concept. And right now there's not any use case that they've shown, but we can imagine the possible use. So YGG is essentially looking to build a guild of gamers that are interested in blockchain gaming and then connecting with big blockchain game developers to get some exclusive perks. So basically they'll say, hey, we have these high value players, and then that's why these games will be willing to give them perks, and then the players will be willing to come because they'll say, hey, if you join our guild, then we'll have these automatic perks for you to play these new games. So right now, anyone can currently go and mint a YGG badge, which again is a NFT that cannot be transferred out of your wallet, which is interesting, and it makes sense for a badge proving association with a group because it would be harder to sell for profit. You would have to give up your whole wallet since you can't transfer the NFT. It's non-transferable, once again. But this would make it easier for YGG to sort of keep track of their members, and if they have any exclusive perks or airdrops, it's convenient them. It'll be convenient for them to send them to the right people. They just have to see who's holding these NFT YGG guild badges. They could even keep track of which kind of badge it was or like when it was minted to give their older members possibly some more exclusive perks. Again, they haven't done anything with these yet, but it's easy to imagine what their idea is here. So finally, we can think about how the maybe not so distant future would look. Uh, so I was writing a little idea here. I didn't even finish it, but I'll tell you what I had so far. You put on your VR headset. Then you jump into an online world where you meet with your friends as their in-game avatars. You can already do this, by the way, on multiple games. They're decked out with their items that are also NFTs, and you go to your in-game house on a property that is also an NFT. Then, let's say you're all preparing to try out a new game, but you want to look good in it. So you use a virtual screen in your house that's actually showing an NFT marketplace that's a different platform. And then you sell some property from a different game that's also NFTs for some profit. And then you use that profit to purchase skins for the new game before you even go play it. Then, after that, you'll be ready to jump into this new game. So you'd connect all your wallets as sort of your identity in the game, not even in the game, in the whole blockchain metaverse, to the new game's server. And then you could prove that, oh, we have early access to this game. We have early access permission to this game because we have these non-transferable NFTs, your badges. And then you would think, hey, if this new game really takes off, maybe we'll have some early in-game items that will be very valuable in the future, and we can sell those and then maybe refurnish your kitchen in your real life house. So again, a metaverse, one of the ideas is that it's sort of blending the online life to real life. So the more these NFTs and currency and everything that you can do in the in-game ecosystem or in metaverse ecosystem can also be transferred and sort of blend with real life things, that's steps and steps further into the metaverse. Anyway, like I said, consider this a very draft video. I plan on making a much better version later, but it wasn't going to be done before the trivia, so there you go. Some questions will be based off of this. So, yeah. I hope you also jump on to see the finished product. I'll make it better. Trust me. See you next time.